Section 3.4 is on equations of lines. Recall from Algebra 1 that slope-intercept form of the equation of a line is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope of the line and b is the y-intercept. Let's take a look at an example. This says write the equation of the line with a slope of negative 1/2 and a y-intercept of -4, and then graph the line. So if the slope is negative 1/2, that means m is equal to negative 1/2, and the y-intercept is -4. The y-intercept is b, so that's -4. So plugging those into the formula, y equals mx plus b, y equals negative 1/2 x plus a -4, or just -4. So that's the equation of the line that has a slope of negative 1/2 and a y-intercept of -4. Now we need to graph that. In order to graph that line, I'm going to begin with the y-intercept, which is my b. So my b is -4, so I plot that on the y-axis. That's my b. And my slope, which is m, tells me how I'm going to move. Now my slope I can think of as -1/2 or 1/2. Recall that slope is rise over run, the change in the y direction or up down over the change in the x direction, which is left right. So from my y-intercept I can go down 1 and right 2. So that would be a -1 and a +2, and down 1 and right 2, and I can keep doing that as long as I want. Or to go in the other direction, a +1 over a -2 means I go up 1 and left 2. And that is the graph of that line. Let's take a look at another example. This says write the equation of the line that passes through the points 2, 4 and -4, -11. So I have points on the line, but I don't know the y-intercept and I don't know the slope. So I need to figure that out. First thing to do is I'm going to calculate the slope of this line, like we did in the last section. So -11 minus 4 over -4 minus 2, or -15 over -6, which reduces to the point, or I'm sorry, the fraction 5/2. So my slope is 5/2. Now I need to find my b. I need to find my y-intercept. A couple different ways you can do this. Let's use the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line. And for this, I'm going to plug in 5/2 for my slope. And then I can use either point for my x and my y in order to find b. I'm going to use my first one here because it doesn't have any negatives in it, and I'm less likely to make mistakes that way. So let's plug in 4 for y, 5/2 for my slope, for m, and then let's plug in 2 for x, and what I need to find is b. This is not the final answer or what it's going to look like. I'm just using this step to find what my y-intercept is going to be. So 4 equals 5 plus b, or b is equal to a -1. And now that I have my slope, my m, and I have my y-intercept, my b, I can write my final answer in slope-intercept form. Y equals 5/2 x minus 1. If you ever used point-slope form in Algebra 1, you can also use that, but I think I'm going to leave it at this for right now. Next example says write the equation of the line that passes through the point -1, 5 and is parallel to the line y equals 4x minus 5. So what I do know is that the slope of this line is 4, and since I'm looking for lines that are parallel, I'm going to use the same slope. Parallel lines have the same slope, so the slope that I'm going to use in my equation is 4. So plugging that into y equals mx plus b. A point on the line is -1, 5, so I'll plug in 5 for y, 4 for my m, negative 1 for my x, and I need to figure out what b is. So 5 is equal to negative 4 plus b. So solving for b, b is equal to 9. I'll use this as my slope. This is my y-intercept, and write my final answer, y equals 4x plus 9. And that's the equation of the line that is parallel to the line 4x minus 5, but passes through the point negative 1, 5. And let's try our last example here. I need to write the equation of the line that passes through the point negative 2, 2, and it is perpendicular to the line y equals negative 1/5 x minus 8. So the slope of this line is negative 5. But I'm not going to use that slope because that would give me a line parallel to this one. What I really need is the slope of any line that's perpendicular to it. So remember, lines that are perpendicular to each other, their slopes are opposite reciprocals. So flipping this and changing the sign gives me a slope of 1/5. That's the slope I'm going to use in my equation along with this point right here. So let's do that. Y equals mx plus b. My y from my point is 2. My slope, and I'm using the opposite reciprocal of the given slope, my slope is 1/5. My point is, my x coordinate is negative 2, and I need to find my b. So that's going to give me 2 is equal to negative 2/5 plus b. You can actually do this in your calculator, or we can go ahead and rewrite 2 as 10 over 5 equals negative 2/5 plus b, and adding 2/5 to both sides, b is equal to 12 over 5. So using that and my slope, my final answer is y equals 1/5 x plus 12/5. And that is the equation of the line that is perpendicular to the line y equals negative 5x minus 8 and passes through the point negative 2, 2.